Hello, good afternoon, everyone. Uh,
Good afternoon, sir.
Good afternoon. Last class, we started off with pressure sensors and we studied potentiometric type pressure sensor transducer. If you recollect, it is a helical Bourdon tube, and after application of pressure, it tries to expand, and that expansion is converted into angular motion, and that angular motion is connected to a wiper or slider of a potentiometer. So this angular motion of the wiper or the slider is converted into resistance change, and that resistance change is measured in terms of voltage change in the external circuit. Today we shall discuss other types of pressure transducer, that is inductive type pressure transducer. As you can see, this is the pressure source, this is the connecting threading, connector threading, and you have pressure sensing capsule, so to say. It's sort of a bellow or a diaphragm. And what happens is, after application of pressure, this capsule expands. Because of application of pressure, whether it is a gas or a liquid, let us say fluid, that fluid pressure, it makes this capsule expand and you get a linear motion of this core rod. And we have already studied linear variable differential transformer, which is based on mutual inductance principle. We discussed it in details in the earlier lectures. You can refer back the notes if you want, which in which you have a primary winding and two secondary windings. And these secondary windings are in phase opposition with each other. And the mutual inductance principle tells us that this primary winding is supplied with AC voltage, and this core is made up of ferromagnetic material. So once the supply is given to the primary winding, the magnetic field is set up in the core, and as the core is moving up and down, because of the motion of the core, this will have mutual inductance with the secondary coils. Two secondary coils are there. Initially, when the core is stationary, there is no impressed voltage in secondary 1 and secondary 2. Once we start moving the core, there is a change of flux related to a rate of change of flux. So this rate of change of flux is dependent upon the motion or the speed with which we are moving the core. So there is a voltage that is impressed on secondary 1 and secondary 2. So that output voltage is measured, and it is correlated with displacement of this core. Now displacement of this core is dependent upon the displacement of the top surface of the capsule or bellow or a diaphragm. So there is a relationship between applied pressure and the diaphragm movement or diaphragm linear motion. So I know P applied is equal to some constant C into motion X or motion Y, whatever you call it. So this relationship I know. Now this motion X or motion Y is correlated with output voltage. So output voltage V0 is equal to some constant C1 into this X or Y, isn't it? So I know the relationship between P and Y. I know the relationship between Y and V0 output voltage. So I can establish relationship between V0 output voltage from the LVDT to applied pressure. Now this is how this inductive pressure transducer is used. Several configurations based on varying inductance or inductive coupling are used in pressure sensors. They all require AC excitation of the coil. The LVDT types have a fairly low frequency response due to the necessity of driving the moving core of the differential transformer. Now, what do we mean by low frequency response? We'll be studying this frequency response part in the 4th unit. You have the time response and you have the frequency response. Now, frequency response is related with dynamic changes. When this core is slowly moving, the LVDT gives us fairly good follower voltage or follow-up voltage. If this core is moving at a faster rate or at a larger frequency, increasing and decreasing, increasing and decreasing. If that frequency is uh, higher, I might not get appropriate output voltage. So at higher frequencies, this LVDT tends to give me little inaccurate or slower results. So LVDT types have a fairly low frequency response due to the necessity of driving the moving core of the differential transformer. The LVDT uses the moving core to vary the inductive coupling between the transformer primary and secondary. I already explained to you that. So this is the second variety. First was resistance, variable resistance type pressure transducer, and second one is the variable inductance type pressure transducer. And the third variety is variable capacitance type pressure transducer. Now you have this arrangement that is shown here. You have the diaphragm in between, right? And on this diaphragm, you have the applied pressure. So because of the application of pressure, the diaphragm moves. Now, to the diaphragm plate, there are two capacitive plates, those are attached. So, after application of pressure, these capacitor plates will move away or will, with reduction of pressure, they will come closer. And as we have seen earlier also, variable capacitance type transducer. The output voltage shown by the capacitive transducer is dependent upon, if you remember, uh, permeability of the medium, if you remember, and the distance between the plate and the cross-sectional area of the plate. If you remember, you can, of course, always refer back with the earlier slides. Probably third or fourth lecture, we discussed variable capacitance type. So if you see the construction, you have the sensing diaphragm, you have the capacitor plates which are moving, and it is oil filled. And let us say this transducer is measuring oil pressure, so to say. So this is the isolating diaphragm, so that it makes one of the diaphragms or one of the plates fixed, and the sensing diaphragm is made movable. Okay. So because of that, as the sensing diaphragm moves forward or backward, the gap between the two capacitor plates varies. As the distance between the two capacitor plates or the gap between the capacitor plates varies, I have variation in capacitance. Now, once again, I have a external balancing circuit. When the capacitance changes, which is given in microfarad, when the capacitance changes. Why the capacitance is changing? Because of the change of the distance between the plates. Why the distance between the plates is changing? Because of application of pressure. Okay. So the capacitance is changing. As the capacitance changes in the external circuit, the potential drop across the capacitance plates changes. Now this change in voltage drop, we are going to measure by using appropriate voltmeter. Now this pressure drop is correlated with capacitance change. Capacitance change is correlated with distance between the plates, and distance between the plate is correlated with applied pressure. So my output voltage can be related with or can be calibrated with the help of applied pressure. I can carry out calibration experimentation. I apply known pressures, and to the known pressures, which is the output pressure that I am, output voltage that I am getting, I can establish a table. I can establish a correlationship. X-axis applied pressure, applied known pressure, y-axis output voltage, and I correlate and I plot a graph, and that will be the calibration curve for this pressure transducer. So this is how this capacitive pressure transducers work. Remember this capacitive type, inductive type, and the variable resistance type. The diagrams that I have shown, all these are the diagrams of commercial setup. These are used in most of the process industries, most of the pharmaceutical industries, where the pressure sensing is of utmost importance. Let us see what he says. Capacitive pressure sensors typically use a thin diaphragm. So one plate as one of the plate of a capacitor. Applied pressure causes the diaphragm to deflect and the capacitance change because the distance between the plate changes. This change may or may not be linear, okay, and is typically of the order of several picofarads, okay. So picofarads is 10 to the power minus 9 farad, okay. Picofarads out of a total capacitance of 50 to 100 picofarads. So the capacitance change is very small. The change in capacitance may be used to control the frequency of an oscillator or to vary the coupling of an AC signal through a network. Let us discuss about these things in the second unit, where how the signal conditioning is done. We shall be studying. So we'll see what are the types of filters, what are the types of oscillators that are used for conditioning of the filter. Here in this unit 1, we are just studying the sensing part and the transduction part. So these transducers are sensing pressure and converting them into appropriate voltage signal, either by using variable resistance principle or variable inductance principle or variable capacitance principle. The electronics for signal conditioning should be located close to the sensing node to prevent errors due to stray capacitance. Okay, these 2 points we can discuss during the second unit, that is signal conditioning. The construction we have already seen. Let us go to the next sensor. Now this piezoelectric sensor is not only used for pressure measurement, it is used for motion also. It is used for displacement measurement, it is used for force measurement, it is used for acceleration measurement. So it is used in accelerometer also. So what is the principle? The crystals like quartz and tourmaline, these have a typical crystal structure. If you see the microstructure, they have a typical orientation of the quartz or tourmaline crystal. The principle is that when external pressure or external force is applied, a charge is established across the faces of these crystals, either quartz or tourmaline are the typical crystals which exhibit this property. When you apply certain pressure, they'll start the charge is changing. As the charge is changing, your electrical voltage across the plates, across the faces will be changing. Now this property, of course, it can be subjected to tension also, okay, tension and compression. So the pressure, pulling force or the compressive force, its output voltage, because the charge is changing, the output voltage will also change. Now this concept or this principle of quartz crystal or piezoelectric crystals is utilized for measurement of pressure. Piezoelectric sensor is used for the measurement of pressure, acceleration, and dynamic forces such as oscillation, impact, or high speed compression or tension, as I told you. In most of the accelerometers, these piezoelectric sensors are used. We discussed initially in the introduction lecture of mechatronics introduction lecture, we had seen the airbags, the actuation of airbags. Now, the actuation of airbags is dependent upon if the vehicle is suddenly decelerated or suddenly it has got some collision. So that collision or deceleration, the collision is characterized by sudden deceleration. Speed एकदम कमी होतो. कुठेतरी आपण collide झालो. So that deceleration is reduction in acceleration. Acceleration is addition in velocity. Reduction in velocity is deceleration. This deceleration sensing is done by such piezoelectric sensors which are mounted just beneath the bumper. Okay, when there is a collision or a crash, the bumper, it actuates, it presses against these piezoelectric sensors, and as the pressure is applied, you have the charge that is developed and it gives you output voltage. In case of airbags, what happens is this voltage is suitably amplified and it actuates the valve of the airbag, wherein the gases are allowed to enter into the airbag, then suddenly they balloon up, and so that your head cannot should not collide with the steering or the glass shield glass in front. So this happens very fast. It has got very good frequency response. So these piezoelectric sensors have very good dynamic characteristics. That is, the speed of response is very high. Okay, so these piezoelectric sensors or transducers are used for measurement of deceleration. These are used for measurement of pressure as well. These are used for measurement of dynamic forces. It contains piezoelectric ionic crystal materials such as quartz. On application of force or pressure, these materials get stretched or compressed. During this process, the charge over the material changes. One phase of the material becomes positively charged and the other is negatively charged. The net charge Q on the surface is proportional to the amount X by which the phases have displaced. So this is what is the principle of piezoelectric transducers. Now, this strain gauge pressure transducers we already discussed it at length when we studied load cell, strain gauge type load cell. We already discussed this strain gauge type pressure transducers. Just let us see the construction. You have the diaphragm which is subjected to pressure source. This external pressure is acting on this diaphragm, and because of the external pressure, this diaphragm deflects, and this is rigid. This is connected with a rigid rod to this cantilever beam. Of course, these are very thin elements. Don't expect it to be a solid, strong, rigid beam. These are elastic beams. Now, as the diaphragm moves because of application of pressure, this rod also moves, and it applies force to the cantilever beam at the end. Because of that, the beam also bends. As the beam bends, the top surface is subjected to tension and the bottom surface is subjected to compression, isn't it? So let us go back. The applied pressure is converted into some force. Now this, how that can be measured? The pressure is nothing but force applied on unit area. So the area of the diaphragm I know. The applied pressure into area of diaphragm will give me force. That force, because it's a rigid bar, that same force is transmitted to the beam. So I know the force acting at the cantilever beam end. So this force acting at this distance will give me the bending moment. Once I know the section modulus, this bending moment upon Z gives me the bending stress that is induced in this beam. Now, once I know the E value, modulus of elasticity, the stress upon strain is E. So stress I know, E I know, so I can find out strain. The strain is nothing but epsilon is equal to change in length upon original length. So from a strain, I can find out what is the change in length, because the original length of the strain gauge I know. So this is how. And yes, this strain gauge, this is the electrical bonded type strain gauge. It will be connected to one of the arms of the Wheatstone bridge, isn't it? So because of length change, the resistance of the strain gauge wire changes. As the resistance changes, the Wheatstone bridge to which this strain gauge is connected becomes unbalanced, and because of that, you have got some output voltage. So output voltage is correlated with resistance change. Now this resistance change is correlated with strain change is correlated with stress change is correlated with bending moment is correlated with, as the length is known, bending moment is correlated with applied force, the applied force is correlated with applied pressure. So this is how the signal is transmitted. A beam may be connected to a diaphragm to form a sensor with relatively high output. Making the diaphragm from a chemically inert material allows this sensor to interface with a wide variety of media. So any chemical may be there on the other side of the diaphragm. So in chemical and pharmaceutical industries, this finds wide applications. Let us see the theoretical part. The strain gauge sensors originally used a metal diaphragm with a strain gauge bonded on it. The signal due to deformation of the metal is small, of the order of 0.1% of the base resistance. Semiconductor strain gauges are widely used, both bonded and integrated into silicon diaphragm, because the response of the applied stress is an order of the magnitude larger than the metallic strain gauge. These diaphragm strain gauges are preferred. So this is one construction we have seen. If you remember in the first initial introduction lecture, I had shown you the diaphragm itself. This is one type that is shown here. I can have a diaphragm on which, if you just see the bottom or top view, I have the semicircular strain gauges. Those can be mounted directly on the diaphragm also. So that is also one type of strain gauge pressure transducer which can be used. So I think the time it is showing. The time is up. Okay. So let's quick recap. We have seen today inductive type pressure transducers. We have seen capacitive pressure transducers. We have seen piezoelectric sensors, how they work, and we have seen strain gauge pressure transducer. We should stop for today. Next class, we'll start with tactile sensors, right? Those are used mainly in robotic applications. We'll see the application area in the next class. In the meantime, take good care of yourself. Start studying. Start referring the books. Start referring the notes. Okay. So as I told you in the last class, also quickly we'll have. I'm compiling the quiz questions. I'm compiling the questions for assignments also. So keep visiting our channel, AGPIT e-learn channel. Subscribe to that channel, and then if you have enrolled to our Google Classroom, fine. If not, just enroll as quickly as possible. Okay. So we shall stop for today. Thank you for watching.